Barbados, 1816. Known as the crown jewel of the British Caribbean, the island sat at the heart of a brutal empire built on the back of slave labor. Its sugar plantations sprawled across the land, worked tirelessly by thousands of enslaved Africans under a system of unimaginable cruelty. But those fields, drenched in sweat and sorrow, soon became the staging ground for one of the most significant acts of resistance against slavery in the Caribbean, the Bussa Rebellion. At the time, the British Empire was in turmoil over the question of slavery. The winds of abolition were stirring across the Atlantic world, fueled by the efforts of activists in Britain who were pressing Parliament to end the transatlantic slave trade. Though discussions of emancipation had not yet translated into concrete change, whispers of freedom reached even the enslaved people in the farthest corners of the colonies. On Barbados, these whispers ignited a flame of hope and defiance that no chains could silence. Leading this charge was a man named Bussa. Little is known about his early life, but history remembers him as a charismatic and strategic leader, someone who inspired courage in people who had been told their lives were worth nothing. Bussa was likely born in Africa and forcibly brought to Barbados as a young man. His name now carries weight, but at the time, he was one of thousands living and laboring under conditions beyond comprehension. Yet, like many others, Bussa's spirit was never broken, and in April 1816, he would prove this to the world. The rebellion was not a spur-of-the-moment act. It was a meticulously planned uprising, months or possibly even years in the making. Enslaved leaders, including Bussa, worked in secrecy to coordinate a widespread insurrection across the island. Their goal was nothing less than ending slavery and seizing freedom. They held clandestine meetings by night, hidden from the watchful eyes of overseers. Plans were whispered, signals arranged, and roles assigned. On April 14, 1816, as Easter Sunday drew to a close, the spark was struck. It began on Bailey's plantation, located in the parish of St. Philip. Here, Bussa and his fellow leaders rallied men and women to rise up under cover of darkness. Armed with machetes, makeshift weapons, and the sheer force of their will, hundreds of enslaved people launched their revolt. They set fire to cane fields, fields that symbolized their suffering, fields that had stolen their lives, and marched with newfound determination toward liberation. The flames spread quickly, both literally and metaphorically. Within hours, plantations across Barbados were engulfed in uprisings. Enslaved people on 70 estates took up arms, attacking the symbols and agents of their oppression. Mansions were burned, storehouses looted, and overseers and slave owners were confronted by the fury of those they had long subjugated. For the first time, the enslaved population, bound together by shared pain and hope, took control of their own destinies. But the response was swift and brutal. Alarm bells rang as word of the rebellion reached the colonial authorities. British soldiers and plantation militias mobilized almost immediately, and within days, the full weight of imperial power was brought down to crush the uprising. The colonial governor declared martial law, and waves of heavily armed troops descended on the rebels. Despite their bravery and resolve, the rebels were outmatched in weaponry and resources. The British forces quashed the rebellion with a merciless hand, leaving devastation in their wake. By April 18th, just 4 days after it had begun, the Bussa Rebellion was effectively over. The price of rebellion was steep. Hundreds of enslaved people were killed in the fighting. Others were hunted down, tried, and executed, their lives taken as a grim warning to any who might dare to rise again. Bussa himself was reportedly killed during one of the battles, though accounts of his last moments vary. What is certain is that he died fighting for freedom, for himself, and for a vision of a world where no man, woman, or child would live in chains. But though the rebellion was quashed, its impact reverberated far beyond the shores of Barbados. In the immediate aftermath, the British colonial authorities sought to tighten control over the enslaved population, fearing further revolts. However, the rebellion exposed the fragility of the plantation system and its reliance on violence to maintain power. Historians agree that the Bussa Rebellion played a crucial role in shaping the abolitionist movement. The uprising showed the British public and Parliament that enslaved people were not content to passively await freedom. they were willing to risk their lives for it. This fervent desire for liberty couldn't be ignored. Just over a decade later, in 1834, slavery was abolished across the British Empire, though it would take another 4 years of apprenticeship for full emancipation to be realized. Today, Bussa is celebrated as a national hero in Barbados, a symbol of resilience and the unyielding pursuit of justice. A bronze statue, known locally as the Emancipation Statue, stands tall at the Haggett Hall roundabout, depicting Bussa breaking free from his chains. It's a reminder of a painful yet powerful chapter in Barbados's history, a testament to the indomitable human spirit and the fight for dignity. The Bussa Rebellion was more than just an event in history. It was a declaration, a cry from the hearts of the oppressed that freedom is not given, it is taken, fought for, and earned. Though the rebellion ended in bloodshed, its legacy endures, inspiring future generations to carry on the quest for equality and justice. Barbados remembers, and the world should too.